Welcome to the Midwest. My name is Jesse Coomer. I am the founder of the Language of Breath Breathworker School. I'm the author of the book, The Language of Breath. And you may have also heard of the book, A Practical Guide to Breathwork. And that is one of the books I published back in 2020. I often get asked, what are the most effective ways that I can use my breath really quickly to calm down and to find my calm? And I'm going to give you my top 5 in this video, but if you stick to the end, I'm going to give you the secret sauce, the thing that you can really use to activate, the thing that a lot of people just aren't really familiar with when it comes to how to make these breathwork techniques really work well. So let's get into the top 5, and I'll give you that secret sauce at the end. Number 1, and probably the most underrated breathwork technique, because I think a lot of people have heard of it, it's box breathing. Now, in the yogic tradition, this is actually an ancient technique that we get called samavriti. And it's ultimately a breathing technique where you're going to inhale for approximately 4 seconds. You're going to hold your breath with full lungs for about 4 seconds. You're going to exhale for 4 seconds. And then you will hold your breath with a neutral lung for 4 seconds. And you repeat this process, you repeat this pattern over and over again. And you can repeat this for a short amount of time or a long amount of time. Typically, you need to repeat this for about 2 minutes to really start to notice the effects. A lot of people start to notice it immediately though. So box breathing is probably the most popular. It's been shared amongst Navy SEALs. It's used in the military. First responders learned this. They call it tactical breathing in the first responder world and in the military world. But basically it all goes back to yogic breathing, that technique called samavriti, and it's box breathing. So that is the number 1 technique. Technique number 2 is what I call the Cadence of Bliss. Everyone else calls it 4-7-8 breathing. This was made very popular by Dr. Andrew Weil. And it consists of taking an inhale for 4 seconds, holding your breath with very full lungs for 7 seconds, and then exhaling for 8 seconds. Now with this technique, one of the sort of the secrets of this one, in addition to what I'll share with you at the end, is expanding your rib cage, really bringing those ribs, really trying to expand them out as far as you can. And when you're holding your breath for 7 seconds, to have a little bit of pressure in your lungs. And so you can repeat this typically 4 to 8 times. After 8 times, we typically will take a break. Some people like to repeat this for longer than 8 repetitions. Most people start to notice a diminishing returns after 8 repetitions. So 4 to 8 repetitions, go back into normal breathing, or you can go into box breathing for about a minute, and then you can come back into 4-7-8 breathing. This technique is especially helpful because it's something that works very quickly. It's also something that people often use before going to bed, or if you're the type of person who wakes up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep very easily, this is a great one. A trick that I like to add into this particular technique is smiling on the breath hold. And you try it with and without smiling, see what you think. I have always found that smiling during the breath hold makes it even better. Technique number 3 is one that I call Sniff Sniff Poo. Other people might call it the physiological sigh. I don't think it's as fun when you call it that. When you call it Sniff Sniff Poo, you kind of know what you're getting into. Sniff Sniff Poo is a technique that involves taking 2 sniffs in to full lungs with an exhale through your mouth. So you're doing the sniff and then a sniff, and then you're going, right? You're not necessarily saying poo, but you get where I'm coming from. So the first sniff should be about 70 to 80% full lungs, and then the second sniff is going to top it off. And after that, you're going to exhale. Now, typically you don't need to do this a long time. Sometimes you might get into sessions that are specifically designed for offloading a lot of CO2, and those are things we'll talk about in another video in the future. But this technique is usually very effective if you repeat it maybe 5 times and then you go back into normal breathing. It's one where, because you do offload a certain amount of CO2, you wouldn't want to do this while driving because you can get a little lightheaded. That offloading of CO2 actually reduces a little bit of the circulation of the blood into the brain, and you can lose consciousness if you do it for long enough. So that's something we want to avoid, especially when we're in water, driving, anywhere where we could possibly pass out and hurt ourselves or others. So try to really treat this as sort of something that you use when you're experiencing emotional overwhelm, something you're experiencing some deep anxiety and stress. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sort of refresh myself. I'm going to sort of reset my outlook, and I'm going to go forward. It's great when combined with other techniques, but it's something that you can use by itself as well. Technique number 4 is diaphragmatic breathing. Now, there is a misconception that if you're not really focusing on the diaphragm, you're not getting a deep breath. But that's not really true. If you are breathing, you are using your diaphragm. What diaphragmatic breathing really focuses on is the exclusion of the other parts of your breath wave. So we're just focusing on that abdominal area. We're bringing the breath, sometimes we say we're bringing the breath low, slow, and through our nose. We're slowing the breathing down. We're breathing only in the abdominal area, that belly area. We're not expanding the ribs so much. We're not expanding the chest. We're really just bringing it down low and slow. And we try to get it so that we're breathing as slow as we can, using as little of the breath wave as possible. So not even really, maybe even a full tummy full of air, not that the tummy has the air in it, but we're not necessarily expanding a lot down there. We're just expanding enough so that we're not feeling breath hunger. We're trying to calm down, slow the breathing down, and just really observe. Breathing technique number 5 is probably my favorite, and that is humming. And this is something that you can do in the car, you can do in a lot of different places. It is something maybe you may not want to do around other people, but it's a technique that has been around as long as people have been around, and it's very simple. You fill your lungs up as full as they go. You exhale as long as you possibly can while humming. So all the way to empty lungs while humming. So you're making that sound. You really want to focus on the rattling in your nose. If you can really get more vibration, so maybe that might mean to try to pick a tone that has more vibration feeling in your nose, because what we're trying to do is really release what we call nitric oxide. There's this nasal nitric oxide that's created in our paranasal sinuses, and we want to increase that, and that's something that humming will do for us. When we do that, we're relaxing our blood vessels and we're opening up those blood vessels so we can actually lower our blood pressure, and it's just good for us just in general, and it feels really good. So with this, you can say, okay, for the next 2 or 3 minutes, the only breathing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a deep inhale, and I'm going to exhale as I am humming, and that's the breathing I'm going to do. I'm going to lengthen every exhale with a hum as long as I can go. Once I'm empty, I take another breath in, I hum it all the way out, and I repeat that for 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to love how you feel when you finish this technique. Okay, so here we are at the end of the video, and I want to give you a secret tip to make all of these techniques work better. This is something we focus on a lot, and we dive really deep on this topic in The Language of Breath. So if you haven't read the book, The Language of Breath, or if you haven't taken the course or learned from one of our breath workers, this is something we can take you very, very deep in. But what a lot of people miss is they focus so much on the technique, they miss the inner sensations that come with those techniques. And so one way you can really get the most out of all of these techniques is to focus inwardly. And that means pick a spot in your body to really focus on as you do the technique. Now, this can be as simple as I'm going to focus on my chest and just sort of notice what I feel there. It can be I'm going to trace the breath in through my nostrils and out through my nostrils as I breathe. But what we want to avoid doing is sort of escaping. We're not trying to escape our bodies, we're trying to bring safety into our bodies. And we can't do that if we're escaping with our observations and our awareness. So picking a place in your body to really focus on, and it doesn't have to be anything magical or specific. You can just say, okay, I'm going to focus on the left side of my chest, or I'm going to focus on my knees, or I'm going to focus on my forehead, or I'm going to focus on my sinuses. You just pick a place and really try to focus in on that area. We're not trying to strain, we're just letting our attention rest in that place, and then perform the breathing techniques as I explained earlier in this video. And you might just be surprised at how much better these techniques work for you. That's because when we do breathing techniques, we're not just sending signals, we're also receiving signals. And if you don't develop your ability to feel the relaxed state that you're going to get when you do these techniques, you may actually miss the good things that you're trying to get through those breathing techniques. So the next time you try any breathing technique, pick a place to focus on. And a lot of times it's just, I'm going to trace the breath in and out, or a lot of times it's just the chest or just a specific place. It doesn't matter that much. Just pick a place to focus on and do the techniques and observe. Maybe it's another thing, another part of your body that you start to notice, but you were in your body as opposed to trying to escape it. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to nerd out with me even more, you can take a look at my blog at jessecoomer.com. The link is below. All kinds of nerdy stuff about how breathing works and how we can use it to live a better life. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. Let me know, did I miss something? Is there a technique that you would have added to this list that I forgot? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have questions, let me know there too. I will see you next week.